أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم صلوات ربي وسلامه على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. We thank Allah, the creator of the heaven and the earth. Inshallah, we are going to continue our lesson of Seerah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Inshallah, today we are going to do a recap of Meccan era. The recap meaning that we're going to summarize the Meccan era of Seerah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that way, those who didn't get a chance to saw the previous video, it would give them a chance to at least to have an idea what we talk about in previous video, inshallah. So at the beginning of the Sirah, we talk about two types of Arab. There were two types of Arab. The first one was called Al-Arabul Ba'ida, Al-Arabul Ba'ida, and the second type of Arabs were called Al-Arabul Baqiya. So what is Arabul Ba'ida, and what is Arabul Baqiya? Al-Arabul Ba'ida, it simply means the long gone Arabs, meaning the first group of Arabs that no longer exists. And those were people of Ad and people of Thamud. So those were Arabul Ba'ida. And Allah talked about these groups, Arabul Ba'ida, in Quran, especially in Surah Al-Fajr. In Surah Al-Fajr, Allah talked about them, Al-Ad wa Thamud, even in Surah Al-Qamar. Allah talked about this Arab. They were very, very strong, giant people. They would cut the cave and make the house out of the cave. That's how strong they were. So those people, those Arabs were long, long gone, And the second type of Arabs are called Arabul Baqiya, meaning the remaining Arabs. So these remaining Arabs are divided into two groups also. So this remaining Arab are divided into two groups. The first group is called Arabu al-Ariba. Arabul Ariba. It means the original Arabs. The original Arabs that were in Jazeera, in the peninsula of Arabian Peninsula. So the original Arab that were living in Peninsula of Arab, those are called Al-Arabul Ariba. And the second group, the second remaining groups, are called Al-Arabul Musta'ariba. Al-Arabul Musta'ariba, it simply means those who became Arab, or those who mix with Arab and then they became Arab. Like, for example, you see many nations, from China, from Africa, from Europe and stuff like that. Once they come to United States, 2 generation, 3 generation later, those newborn childs in America, those newborn children in America, they would become American, meaning originally they used to be European or African or whatever, but once they comes to America, and then the first, second, or third generation automatically became American because they were born in America. That's the only language they speak. They only recognize themselves as American, and nothing else. So those are called those who became American, but originally the Indian were the first American because they were here before anyone. So once you understand that concept, it's the same thing. So Al-Arabul Musta'ariba are the Arabs who became Arab, meaning because they moved to this peninsula and they became Arabs. For example, Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he moved his family to Mecca, Ismail alayhi salam, when Ismail and his mother, Hajar, live in Mecca by the Kaaba. So Ismail grew up in Mecca, and then he married a tribe from Jurhum. So meaning he mixed up with the Jurhum. Jurhum are the Arab Al-Ariba, meaning they're the original Arab, but Ismail mixed up with them. He married from them, and then his offspring became Al-Arabul Musta'ariba, meaning mixed with original Arab. So that's the meaning of it. So these two Arabs were the remaining. So now, all this either is Arabul Ariba or Arabul al Musta'ariba. Both of them, they all trace their lineage to who? To Sam. Who is Sam? Sam is the son of Nuh. Nuh was the first prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was the first prophet Allah sent. He was he was the first messenger. The first prophet was Adam, but the first messenger that Allah sent was Nuh, because there's a difference between prophet and messenger. So the son of Nuh, Sam, he is the forefather of all the Arabs, even the Jewish. So they all trace the lineage. That's why they call Semites. When you heard the word Semite, so sometimes when you say something about the Jewish people or whatever, they would say, "Oh, you are anti-Semite." But funniest thing, sometimes the Jewish would say to Arabs that their Arabs are anti-Semite, not realizing the Arabs themselves, they are also Semite, because they all trace the lineage back to Sam, the son of Noah. So all these Arabs trace their lineage to Sam, including the Jewish also. So when Ibrahim alayhi salam left Ismail and Hajar in the desert of Mecca, so people from Jurhum, meaning that was a tribe that were residing in that area. So the Jurhumites, the tribe of Jurhum originally are from Yemen. They're Arab, but they're originally from Yemen. So the Jurhum people, they would pass by to do their business. They would pass by with the caravan. So when they saw waters, because obviously we talk about the Zamzam, how the Zamzam come to be, this is just a summary, so we cannot go in details in everything. So when they discovered there's a water, because Ismail, when he was a baby, he struck the desert, he struck the earth, the water started gushing, that became a Zamzam. So when Jurhumite when they were passing by, so they saw this water, and they made a detours and comes to Hajar, the mother of Ismail, and ask her if they could stay with her because there's the waters and stuff like that. So this tribe called Jurhum stayed with them, in this area. So the Jurhum stay, and Ismail, when he grew up, after the Kaaba was built, Ibrahim would come back and forth. So Allah told Ibrahim to build the Kaaba. He built the Kaaba with Ismail alayhi salam. So, and then when Ismail became a man, he married from the Jurhum. We talk about that. So then they, all the Kaaba and, to take care of the Kaaba and stuff like that, Ismail would take care of that and his offspring and stuff like that. To a point that Jurhum, the tribe of Jurhum, became the custodian of the Kaaba. They became the custodian of the Kaaba. So they'll be the one who would, welcome people for Hajj, and they would take care of the Kaaba and so forth. So the tribe of Jurhum took care of the Kaaba for so many years. But this tribe, over the time, they became corrupt and they became evil. When they became very evil, another tribes in that peninsula, in the desert in Mecca, got rid of them. And this tribe is called Banu Khuza'a. The tribe of Khuza'a came and got rid of Jurhum because Jurhum became very corrupted, that tribes. So when Jurhum, were fought, because the Banu Khuza'a fought them and kicked them out. But before they left Mecca, the Jurhum, before they left Mecca, they closed the well of Zamzam. They closed the well of Zamzam, and they had so many treasures from Kaaba, even the black stone, the Hajar al-Aswad, they took it out and they hide it because they couldn't take it. If they they were trying to take it with them, but they couldn't. They couldn't even lift it, to to lift Mecca, but now they know they couldn't take it, so they find a place to hide the Hajar al-Aswad, and they hide so many treasures, a lot of golds and stuff like that. They put most of them in the well of Zamzam and closed the well. So once they did that, there was an old lady from Banu Khuza'a. She saw where they put where they hide the Hajar al-Aswad, and so she's told people in Mecca that if my tribe found the Hajar al-Aswad, meaning the black stone, then the leadership would be us, meaning we have to lead the Meccan, we have to be the leader of the Kaaba. And so everyone said, fine, fine. Once you guys could find the black stone, then you could be the leader. So the Banu Khuza'a took the leadership, but they did, over the time, they did even worse than Jurhum. They also became very corrupt in times. This is like 1,000 years before Prophet comes. So this um, tribes became very, very corrupt. So at some point, maybe 400 years before Prophet ﷺ came, there was a man from this tribe called, from Khuza'a, Banu Khuza'a. His name was Amr ibn Luhay. Amr ibn Luhay was the first person to introduce idolatry in Mecca. The first person who brought the stone, who brought the statues and tell people to worship that as Allah, Allah Akbar. He was the first person to introduce idolatry, into Mecca. This is 400 years before the Prophet ﷺ was born. So how did Amr ibn Luhay come up with this idea? When his tribe took over the Kaaba, they became the leaders. So this man traveled all the way to Syria. He was a businessman. So when he went to Syria, he found out that the people from Syria, their civilization were pretty much, higher, and their civilization was much, much better, were much, much advanced than the civilization of Mecca. But he found out these people are worshiping idols, and they have this big idols called Hubal. That's the name of this idol, Hubal. So he decided to bring these idols to Mecca, Hubal. And since they're the one in charge of Kaaba, and now since everyone is look up to him, he's the leader, and he said, you know what, you guys are backward. This is the new trend, and everyone is worshiping this idols called Hubal. And he would give you risk, he would give you sustenance, he would help you with provision, he would help you getting it. If you want a boy, if you want a baby boy, he would help you with that. If you want a baby girl, and so, like, he would help you with so many things. So he brainwashed him like that, and he brought this idols inside the Kaaba. And Prophet ﷺ said in his hadith, you would find this hadith in Muslim, and Prophet ﷺ mentioned that he saw Amr ibn Luhay in the hellfire, dragging his intestine. He's dragging his own intestine. Meaning his stomach is spread open, and all his intestine is out. So he's carrying his own intestine. He's dragging his intestine inside the hellfire. Why? Because he was the first person to introduce idolatry inside the Kaaba. Allahu Akbar. So this man, Prophet said, he saw him inside the hell. He's dragging his own intestine. So this tribe of Khuza'ah, they're not Quraysh. They're not Quraysh, but they became the custodian of the Kaaba because they were able to kick the Jurhumite out. So because of that, they became the custodian of the Kaaba. So Prophet ﷺ, how the Quraysh going to get the custodians of, how they're going to get the custody of the Kaaba? How? And this would happen because the fourth great grandfather of Prophet ﷺ would be the catalyst, would be the leader to bring this glory back to the Quraysh again. Back to the children of Ismail. And Prophet's fourth great grandfather, his name was Qusay bin Kilab. So Qusay bin Kilab entered Mecca and married from Banu Khuza, the tribe that are in charge of the Kaaba. So when Qusay came to Mecca, he married from this tribe. He marries a woman from this tribe because they were the chief. So when the chief passed away, since Qusay was the son-in-law and there was no other son from the Banu Khuza tribe, so he became the leader. And then from there, he took over the Kaaba, and the Quraysh became the leader of the custodian. This is one way to say it. But some other historians said no. The Qusay came to Mecca. Let's just go back a little bit so you could get the who's Qusay. We said that Qusay is the fourth great grandfather of Prophet ﷺ. So when Qusay father, when Qusay father, Qilab, which is also the fifth great grandfather of Prophet, when Qilab passed away, so Qusay mother married someone else. But at that time, Qusay was only a baby because his father passed away. Qilab passed away when Qusay was a baby. So Qusay's mother married someone else from different tribes. And that was not in Mecca. That was in a different, close to Mecca, but it was not in Mecca. So Qusay grew up in his mother's new husband's house, meaning in his stepfather's house. So he grew up when he was a young man. As a child, children always do that. So when you're fighting, when children fight among each other, so one of the children said, you know what? Why don't you go back to your original? Why don't you go back to your ancestor? You come. This is not your place. You're not from us. You're not one of us. You are from the Quraysh. So why you here? Go back to your own tribe. And Qusay was so shocked. He couldn't believe it. And finally he asked his mom. He said, "Why? I mean, I had a fight with someone, and he told me I'm not from this tribe, and I'm from Quraysh." And his mom said, "Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Because I married this man, but because your father passed away, and you were very young, but originally you were from Quraysh." So when Qusay became a man, he decided to go back, and he knows that his tribe, Quraysh, is much better than the tribe, his uh, stepfather's tribe. So when he became a man, he decided to go to Quraysh, to go to Mecca. And when he entered Mecca, he find out that Banu Khuza'a are in charge of Kaaba. So now he want to get the custody of the Kaaba, but he needs help because at that time Quraysh were weak, they didn't have leaders, none of that. So he asked some of his half brothers, from his mom's side, because when his mother got married, his mom's got other children from his new marriage. So those children were his half brothers. So he told his half brother to help him fight these tribes, the Banu Khuza'a, and he won the battle against Banu Khuza'a, and he got rid of them. That's how he became the leader of the Mecca, the leader of the tribe of Quraysh. And some said no, he married in Banu Khuza'a. That's how he became a leader. So everyone has their way to tell the story. But nevertheless, this is how Qusay come to Mecca and took over the Kaaba. So now, um, this happened 400 CE. About this is 400 CE mean Christian era. So this event that when Qusay come to Mecca, this was like around 400 CE. It's meaning this was 150 to 200 before Prophet ﷺ was born. This is 150 to 200 years before Prophet ﷺ was born. But for every Muslim, we're supposed to know the lineage of our beloved Muhammad, of our beloved Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. We have to know his lineage because it's extremely important for Muslim to know the lineage, this blessing lineage of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. We first, Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, his father was Abdullah, and so his grandfather was Abdul Muttalib, and his great grandfather and the father of Abdul Muttalib was Hashim. And from Hashim father was Abdul Manaf, and Abdul Manaf father was Qusay. So this is the Qusay we're talking about, the fourth one. So Abdullah, Hashim, Abdul Manaf, Qusay. So that's the fourth grandfather of Prophet ﷺ. So from Qusay, then Qilab, and then from Qilab, Murrah, and so forth. At least you have to know at least 6 to 7 of them. At least every Muslim should know that. So now, when Qusay became a leader, he introduced the Kaaba to Quraysh and a great grandson Hashim. So Qusay, when he became the leader, so from that point on, so the Quraysh would be in charge till the great grandfather of Prophet ﷺ, Hashim, Banu Hashim. Hashim also took over, and he introduced something extremely important to Mecca. Hashim, the great grandfather of Prophet ﷺ, he was the one who established the political and economic of Mecca by coming up with the trade trademark called Rihilat al-Shita'i wa-Sayf. When you read the surah, Allah said, "Li fi Quraysh," Surah Quraysh. Allah said, "Li fi Quraysh ilafihim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, li fi Quraysh ilafihim, Rihilat al-Shita'i wa-Sayf." So the traveling in the traveling in times of winter and in times of summer. So in the winter they would go to Syria, they would go to Sham, but in the summer they would go to Yemen. So Yemen, pretty much once they go to Yemen, that would connect Africa and India. But if they go to Sham, that would connect, Palestine, Jordan, and all those upper level. So it would connect. So it was a brilliant strategy of economic power. So wintertime they would go to Syria, but summertime they would go to Yemen. So that way they would get both sides in terms of economic. They would get all types of goods and stuff like that. So it helped their economic booming. So and the person who introduced that kind of business was Hashim, the great grandfather of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So now, within this time, there was two major empires. There was the Byzantine empires, and there are how you call it? There were assassin empire. Assassin empires are the assassin empires were the empire of how you call it? The people from Iran. Like those area, Iran and part of the Iraq also, and those are called assassin empire. And they're extremely powerful. So the Byzantine empires and assassin empires. So in the word Persian Empire, many people know it as the Persian Empire. So these were the two major empires. And the funniest thing, geographically, the Arabian Peninsula were right in the middle of the two major empires. The Persian Empire is on the left, the Roman Empire is on the right, and right in the middle, that's where the Arabian Peninsula were living, Mecca were in. So the Arab at that time were completely backward. The only thing they have that they would value was their language. But other than that, they didn't have anything. They didn't have military power. They didn't have a religion. They were all idolatry. They would worship idols, pretty much. But these two empires, they were economically powerful. They were military powerful, and they would fight one another. But the Arab became neutral. They would not support the Persian. They would not support the empire. The Roman. That's how they survived. That's how they survived, and nobody would even count them. So that's how they, and they were just living in the desert in these hardships and stuff like that. So Allah wanted it that way. Let these two, major power fight one another, and at that point, the Arabs were not united either. They were not united whatsoever. So Allah willed that this peninsula of Arabian Peninsula, would be united under one banner of Islam at the command of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allahu Akbar. So now, that was, one of the way to preserve the Arabian Peninsula till it comes to a point that they could be very powerful, down the line. So when Hashim, got married, because he married Prophet great grandfather, he married someone from Yathrib, which would known later as Medina. But when he were traveling, he passed away. He traveled to Sham, and some people would say, his body is somewhere in Sham. Some would say is in Palestine. Some would say is in Jordan. So he passed away in Sham. Hashim, the great grandfather of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But he married because he was living Mecca. In his way to Sham, he passed by Yathrib, which is known as Medina. So he married her. He married a woman. He married a woman named Salma. We talk about her too. She was a very powerful woman. So when he married her, she was the daughter of the chief of. So when he married her, A few weeks later, he continues, his journey to Sham, to Syria, and then he passed away from there. So he didn't return back. So his wife Salma became pregnant, and she gave a birth to a son named Shaybatul Hamd. Shaybatul Hamd, which is would be known later as Abdul Muttalib, the grandfather of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So Shaybatul Hamd was born in Medina, previously known as Yasrib. So this man, Shaybatul Hamd, you know, um, Prophet's uncle, his great uncle, meaning his great grandfather Hashim brother, one of Hashim brothers, his name was Muttalib. Hashim brothers was Muttalib, not Abdul Muttalib, but Muttalib. So Muttalib was traveling one time. He came to Medina, Yasrib at that time, and he saw someone that looks exactly like Quraysh, you know. And but this person, this young man, had like a white hair in his head. That's why he was called Shaybat al-Hamd, meaning the blessing white hair, because the baby was born with the white hair, in his head. So that's why he was called Shaybat al-Hamd. So when he saw this young man with the white hair, when Muttalib saw him, and he knew, and he was also told that it seemed like your brother Hashim married a lady in this town, Yasrib, and he had a baby boy. And then Muttalib came to Yasrib, and he was trying to look for him. He was trying to look for Shaybat al-Hamd, and he finally found him, and he saw his future. He knew exactly, this is my brother's son. This is my nephew. So I'm going to take him. So he came ready and trying to take. He talked to Shaybat al-Hamd, and he said, "You are from Quraysh. You are my brother's son, and my brother passed away. This." And so he told him everything about the Quraysh. And finally, Shaybat al-Hamd decided, you know what, I'm going to live with you. I'm going to go to Mecca, and this is my tribe. So and he said he didn't even say anything to his mother. He just leave with his uncle Muttalib. In his way, when they were leaving Yathrib to Mecca, some Yahud followed them, and they were trying to kill Shaybat al-Hamd, because they knew, the last prophet is coming, and they saw some sort of like a trademark. They remarked something in him, knowing that there gotta be this man. There's something in him. There's some nur, some light in him, and he's not just anybody. He could be somebody. So they decide to kill him. So they chase the Yahud, some group of Yahud. There were about 10 or 11 people. So they came after Muttalib and this young man, Shaybat al-Hamd. Now they were trying to kill them, and finally, Muttalib, he was a warrior. He was able to defend, himself and Shaybat al-Hamd from these people, from the Yahud, and the family of Shaybat al-Hamd, meaning Salma, the mother of Shaybat al-Hamd, and his and her entourage, learned that someone came to Medina and kidnapped her child, and she ran after them, and she even noticed. She learned that there are some Yahud also after those people. So she knew the Yahud don't like her son. So she rushed with some group, and they came to a point that they found that Yahud and Muttalib are fighting. And when Yahud saw her, they run away. Because he at that point, Muttalib were able to, I think, he killed about 2 people or 3 people out of this 11 people. So now, once they see Salma, this Yahud, they run away. And Salma and Muttalib start talking, and Muttalib said, "Well, I know it's your son, but this is my nephew." And so Muttalib explained everything to Salma, and Salma said to Shaybat al-Hamd, he said, "Okay, it's up to you. If you want to go to your uncle, that's fine. If you want to stay with me, that's fine. But at least you should have let me know in advance." And Shaybat al-Hamd decided, you know what, I'm just going to go with my uncle, because this is my actual lineage, this is my actual tribe, so I want to go. And the mother said to Muttalib, "You're going to promise me that you're going to take care of my child?" And he said, my child, please do not leave me, unnoticed. Always, send me news of you, that you're doing good and stuff like that. And he promised that. So they left. So when Abdul Muttalib, when Shaybat al-Hamd and Muttalib came to Mecca, people saw, they saw them. Muttalib was carrying this young man, in his camel or some sort of horse. So they said, "Oh, Muttalib, who is this young man? Is he a slave?" He didn't say anything. So from that point, people start calling, Shabat al-Hamd Abdul Muttalib, meaning the young slave of Muttalib, the young slave of Muttalib. So this name became his actual name, Abdul Muttalib, Abdul Muttalib. Why Muttalib didn't want to tell everyone that this is my nephew? Because he didn't want any people to find out yet, because he knew, there was so much animosities and stuff like that. So he wanted to make sure, he hide, the boy's identity, from the enemies and stuff like that. And he knew the young boys were coming from Medina, and he didn't want the news to spread that he kidnapped this young man from Medina or from his family and stuff like that. That's why he hid the identity of Shaybat al-Hamd. But people from Mecca start calling the young man, "Oh, you are Abdul Muttalib. You are this young slave of Muttalib," and that name stick with him. So from now on, his name is Abdul Muttalib. So this Abdul Muttalib, three things happen. You know, three amazing things happen in his timing.